I grew up with him as childhood friends and loved him for 8 years. The day before our wedding, he, to be the groom for his first love, actually had someone hit me with a car and severed my tendons. Watching him tenderly care for his mistress, while he treated me as a burden, I was completely heartbroken. You dare ruin my life, and I dare disappear, making you go crazy looking for me. Once I heal my legs and am reborn, even if he kneels to atone, it'll be too late. There's no one in this world who can't live without anyone else. The day before the wedding, I had a car accident. In the haze, I overheard a conversation between Qin Yanxuan and the doctor. Mr. Qin, you've already had someone crash into Miss Chen. Are you really sure you want to sever her tendons and make her a cripple? Tomorrow is also Qianqin's wedding, but her groom is in a vegetative state. I can't let her be laughed at the wedding. If I can be her groom, even if it's just for one day, I'll be content. It's better if Ziyi becomes crippled. Afterward, if Qianqin needs help, I won't have to keep finding excuses to leave her and go out. She'll stay at home, and I'll use the rest of my life to make it up to her. The pain and numbness filled my heart, and a tear slipped down my cheek. Since he loves Zhang Qianqin so much, I'll let him have her. Okay, while she's still unconscious, quickly sever her tendons, then just say it was caused by the car accident. Make sure she gets anesthesia, and when she wakes up, give her the best painkillers. She's terrified of pain. Qin Yanchuan's voice was still as gentle and pampering as ever, but the words he spoke were cold as ice. They made my heart feel like it had frozen over. The doctor hesitated. Are you really sure? Miss Chen is still so young. She shouldn't just become a cripple, unable to walk for the rest of her life. Qin Yanchuan gently stroked my face, then tightly grasped my hand. There's no choice. After all, our wedding is the same day as Qianqin's. I have to choose to be her groom. If Ziyi isn't hurt, she'd definitely come ruin Qianqin's wedding. So, Ziyi, I'm sorry. I'll make it up to you later. Qin Yanchuan softly kissed my lips. With his other hand, he took an anesthetic syringe and without hesitation, injected it into my veins. A wave of excruciating pain hit, and I fell into a deep unconsciousness. When I woke up again, a full day and night had passed. Only the doctor and Qin Yanchuan were by my side. Qin Yanchuan sat at my bedside, holding both my hands tightly, his eyes bloodshot. Ziyi, you're finally awake. His face was full of relief as he kissed my hand excitedly. Thankfully, you're not in any danger. Otherwise, I slowly blinked, recalling the truth I heard before the anesthesia. A sharp pain pierced my heart, and I turned my head instinctively, not wanting to look at him anymore. Ziyi, what's wrong? Where does it hurt? Qin Yanchuan panicked and shouted to the doctor beside him. Ziyi isn't feeling well. Why aren't you checking to see if there's a problem with her treatment? I suppressed the bitterness and hatred in my heart, turning to look at him calmly. How could there be a problem? The worst that happened was that I became a cripple. Qin Yanchuan and the doctor froze, a flicker of guilt and panic flashing in their eyes. Ziyi, I said lightly. My leg is wrapped up so tightly. Didn't I get hit by the car and break my leg? Only then did they both sigh in relief. Barely noticeable. I sneered coldly in my heart. Qin Yanchuan looked at me with tenderness in his eyes. He reassured me. Don't worry, Ziyi, I'll take good care of you. You can trust me with your future. Our love will never change. It's the same as before. Won't change? How much of your feelings for me were real back then? I really wanted to ask, but I held my tongue. It was no longer necessary. I no longer cared about him. Looking at the groom's outfit he was wearing, I deliberately asked him, Yanchuan, wasn't yesterday our wedding? But I was still unconscious yesterday. And the groom's outfit you're wearing? Qin Yanchuan paused for a moment, then said apologetically, yesterday was also Zhang Qianqin and my cousin's wedding, but you know, my cousin is still in a coma, and there couldn't be a wedding without a groom. There was no other way, so I had to step in for my cousin and complete the wedding ceremony with Zhang Qianqin. But that was it. The doctor chimed in. That's right, Mr. Qin. After the wedding, he rushed back to the hospital and stayed by Miss Shen's side for the whole night. But why am I lying in a hospital bed? Isn't it because Qin Yanchuan himself did this to me? Our wedding had already been postponed multiple times by him. Each time, it was for Zhang Qianqin. This time, he wanted to be Zhang Qianqin's groom for a day, so he had someone crash into me and sever my tendons. I laughed bitterly to myself. So, for the one he truly loved, he could go this far. Seeing me silent, he cautiously tested me. Ziyi, you're not angry, are you? But it's all in the past now. I interrupted his explanation. I smiled and said, of course I don't mind. He'll keep finding more excuses for Zhang Qianqin in the future. How could I possibly mind? Besides, I won't care anymore. I contacted my best friend, who was traveling on the other side of the world, and asked her to arrange a flight for me. I'm going to find her. My best friend was so furious when she heard what I said. She wanted to rush over and break Qin Yanchuan's legs. You grew up together, and yet your bond is no match for Zhang Qianqin, who you've only known for 3 years. I think Qin Yanchuan is trash. You love him so much. You're so good to him, and yet he doesn't appreciate it. He has to go after that Zhang Qianqin. Good thing you didn't marry him. When I get back, I'll break his dog legs. I shook my head. I don't love him anymore. I don't want anything to do with him. I want him to never find me again. My best friend nodded. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. Qin Yanchuan brought me back home and took care of me every day. When I looked at him, carefully changing the dressing on my leg, my heart still felt a pang of sorrow. Qin Yanchuan and I were childhood friends. When I was little, if anyone bullied me, he would always rush to protect me. When I first developed feelings, if any boys passed me love letters, he would chase them away with a jealous look. Later, we broke through the awkwardness and officially started dating. He spoiled me like no other. We made countless promises to each other, saying we'd always be together. Until 3 years ago, when Qin Yanchuan went to visit his sick cousin in the hospital and met Zhang Qianqin, the nurse who was taking care of him. From that moment on, Qin Yanchuan was drawn to Zhang Qianqin's gentleness and care, and they grew closer. For her, Qin Yanchuan missed countless dates with me. I argued with him, but he just gave me that, "You don't understand," look. It was like I was a spoiled little drama queen. He said, Qianqin is gentle and kind, her family's situation isn't good, but she still works hard to earn money. I only admire her, don't make a fuss. But the gifts he gave me, he'd turn around and give the same ones to Zhang Qianqin. Today, he took me out to a restaurant for dinner, and tomorrow, he'd take Zhang Qianqin on a trip to make it up to her. How could this be just admiration? Just as I was thinking about whether I should completely end this relationship, Zhang Qianqin and Qin Yanchuan's cousin started dating. Qin Yanchuan once again explained to me that he didn't have that kind of feeling for Zhang Qianqin. As expected, Qin Yanchuan was still good to me, spoiled me, loved me. But when his cousin had a car accident and became a vegetative state, Qin Yanchuan started caring for Zhang Qianqin again, saying she would be his future cousin-in-law. He even postponed our wedding several times for her. But everyone in the Qin family told me not to be petty. We'd all be one family in the future. Qin Yanchuan was even better to me, swearing that he only loved me. I chose to believe. But I never expected him to be this cruel enough to sever my tendons, just so he could freely meet Zhang Qianqin in the future. Sometimes, I truly don't understand how he could spoil and care for me, while his heart was with another woman. His heart had long been taken by Zhang Qianqin, and all I received was a small bit of guilt. My best friend texted me, saying she had already applied to cancel my ID card. If I wanted to leave, I could do so today. Seeing the countdown on my phone for our 8-year anniversary, I replied to my best friend, tomorrow, after our 8-year anniversary, I would completely leave Qin Yanchuan and put an end to this 8-year relationship. Yanchuan, tomorrow is our 8-year anniversary. Before I could finish, Qin Yanchuan's phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID, instinctively stood up, and walked out of the room. "See, I'm going out to take a call. I'll be right back." As soon as Qin Yanchuan left, I received a message and photos from Zhang Qianqin. "See, you didn't come to the wedding the other day. You probably haven't seen the wedding photos and videos. I'll send them to you." In the photos, Zhang Qianqin was smiling happily in a white wedding dress, and Qin Yanchuan, dressed in a groom's suit, stood next to her, gazing at her lovingly. I then realized, Zhang Qianqin's wedding dress and Qin Yanchuan's groom's suit were actually a matching pair, with a small purple iris embroidered on them. Purple irises were Zhang Qianqin's favorite flowers. No wonder when Qin Yanchuan and I went to custom make our wedding outfits, he refused to pick the suit that matched my dress. He insisted on getting a separate one. It turns out, he had already planned to only be Zhang Qianqin's groom. In the video, Qin Yanchuan, under the blessings of the host and the guests, put the ring on Zhang Qianqin's finger, kissed her forehead deeply and reverently. The scene was as beautiful as a newlywed couple. I cruelly zoomed in on the video and saw Qin Yanchuan's reddened eyes, filled with tears, as he kissed Zhang Qianqin. In that second, was he crying tears of joy for fulfilling his own wish? Or was he sad because he could only be Zhang Qianqin's groom for one day? But no matter what, it wasn't for me. I calmly replied, Congratulations to both of you. Zhang Qianqin sent more photos and videos, but I didn't watch them. I just blocked her with one click. When Qin Yanxuan came back, he said we were going to Qin's family for a reunion dinner. When we got there, everyone in the Qin family stared at my legs in the wheelchair with faint mockery in their eyes. See, your leg really can't be treated? Then in the future, our Yanxuan will have a hard time managing the family business and taking care of his paralyzed wife. It was Qin Yanxuan's aunt, Qin Mozhang's mother, who spoke. I smiled faintly. Aunt, aren't you also tired? You're over 50 and still have to take care of your son who's in a vegetative state. By the way, has Mozhang's condition gotten better? Her face instantly turned ugly, muttering, what's there to be proud of being disabled? My son has Zhang Qianqin to take care of him, but Yanxuan only has to marry someone like you. Qin Yanxuan seemed to not hear, and once we entered the Qin mansion, his eyes immediately glued to Zhang Qianqin. Yanxuan Ge, Ziyi Jia, you're here. Zhang Qianqin, with a smile on her face, walked over and suddenly twisted her ankle, almost falling. Qin Yanxuan casually pushed my wheelchair aside and rushed over to catch Zhang Qianqin. Qianqin, are you okay? Zhang Qianqin, looking weak, said, I'm fine, just twisted my ankle, it hurts a little. While I was pushed aside, my wheelchair uncontrollably crashed into the coffee table, spilling hot tea all over me. Everyone laughed secretly, looking at me in my embarrassing state. Qin Yanxuan didn't even glance at me, just picked up Zhang Qianqin and headed upstairs. I'll take Qianqin upstairs to apply the medicine. You all take care of Ziyi. The Qin family members asked with fake concern if I was okay, but their footsteps didn't move, and they just mocked me from afar. Only a maid stepped forward and pushed me into the elevator, taking me upstairs to change clothes. After pointing me to the changing room, the maid left, telling me to call her when I was done. As I passed by a room on the second floor, I saw through the slightly open door what was happening inside. My hand on the wheelchair tightened immediately. It was Qin Mozhang's room, where he lay in a vegetative state. But on the bed next door, two figures were entangled. Zhang Qianqin was gasping, her long legs wrapped around Qin Yanxuan's waist. Yanxuan Ge, I can't hold it in anymore. Qin Yanxuan was also gasping but only kissed her lips in restraint. This isn't appropriate. Mo Xiang is lying next door. Zhang Qianqin pouted her lips and coquettishly said, it's fine. Mo Xiang won't mind. He can't satisfy me, so it's perfectly normal for you, my cousin, to help him, right? I stared at the disgusting scene in front of me, a wave of nausea suddenly rising in my throat. I covered my mouth but still couldn't stop gagging. Qin Yanxuan quickly pulled open the door, and when he saw me, his face immediately turned pale. See, you? I feigned confusion. Oh, this is Mozhang's room? You're just taking care of him in there? I thought this was the changing room. Qin Yanxuan, hearing that, slowly regained some color and subtly sighed in relief. He then noticed my clothes were still wet from the tea and hurriedly said, the tea spilled on your clothes. You must be uncomfortable. Wait here, I'll get you something to change into. Once he left, I resumed my cold expression. Zhang Qianqin leaned against the door, sneering, see, you sure can endure. You saw me and Yanxuan like that. And you're still pretending you don't know, trying to paint a picture of peace. She slowly approached me, smugly raising her eyebrows. You must think self-deception will keep Yanxuan, right? But Yanxuan Ge loves me. He promised to give me a child. I gave a cold smile, looking at her disdainfully. I have no interest in your affair, and I don't need to hear you boast about how much Qin Yanxuan loves you. No one cares. I turned my wheelchair to leave, but Zhang Qianqin deliberately pushed my wheelchair in the opposite direction, causing me to fall down the stairs. From Qin Yanxuan's perspective as he went upstairs, it seemed like I had pushed Zhang Qianqin down the stairs myself. He immediately threw the clothes in his hands and rushed up to catch her. Yanxuan Ge, don't blame Ziyi Jia. I'm sure she didn't mean to push me. Zhang Qianqin weakly leaned against Qin Yanxuan, smiling provocatively at me. Qin Yanxuan coldly looked at me. Shen Ziyi, even with your leg broken, you still bully Qianqin. How cruel are you? And my wheelchair, hit by the force, slammed against the wall. And I was knocked out of it, falling to the ground. The unhealed tendons in my foot started cramping painfully again. My face turned pale from the pain, and hearing him bring up my leg, another sharp pain pierced my heart. Qin Yanxuan, wasn't my leg broken because of, enough, I don't want to hear you speak. He interrupted me coldly, not sparing me another glance. and quickly took Zhang Qianqin down the stairs to the hospital. I lay there, enduring the agony of my broken tendons. Tears finally started to fall onto the floor. The whole Qin family watched the scene. But it was only the maid who had the decency to call an ambulance for me. When I woke up again, I was alone in the hospital room. Qin Yanxuan had sent me several text messages. "See, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have yelled at you. I know you didn't mean to push Qianqin. Tomorrow is Qianqin's return home day. Mo Yang still hasn't woken up. I'll accompany her back tomorrow, and I'll try to come back tomorrow night to celebrate our 8-year anniversary. I'll bring you a gift, so just wait at home for me." I coldly curled the corner of my lips. But there was no smile in my eyes. I knew this was just a show. He was worried I'd get rebellious and continue bullying his precious Qianqin. I deleted the text messages and blocked his number. Then I called my best friend. "No need to wait until tomorrow. Arrange the flight to pick me up now." At first, I thought I wanted closure for these 8 years. But I should have realized long ago that this relationship had already come to a disastrous end. Qin Yanxuan was accompanying Zhang Qianqin back to her family. And when her parents saw the luxury gifts he brought, their eyes went wide. "Mr. Qin is Qianqin's eldest brother, right? Oh my, Qianqin married a man in a vegetative state. And we don't know if he'll ever wake up. Thank goodness you're here helping out. It's really tough for you." Qin Yanxuan paused. His expression cooled slightly as he watched her parents' flattering gestures. Zhang Qianqin immediately gave them a look, signaling them to stop speaking nonsense. "Yanxuan Ge, don't mind them. My parents don't know better. They always talk without thinking." Qin Yanxuan gave a faint smile to reassure her. "No matter what, they are your parents. Who raised you? Why would I mind?" But during dinner, Yang's parents started asking, in subtle ways, if Qin Mo Yang stayed in a coma, could his shares in the company be transferred to Zhang Qianqin? They even asked about the future distribution of the Qin family's wealth. Even Zhang Qianqin hinted at him. "Yanxuan Ge, if Mo Yang doesn't wake up, what will happen to me in the Qin family? I really want a child, at least someone to rely on." Qin Yanxuan immediately sensed her intent and felt a surge of rejection. For some reason, my image suddenly appeared in his mind. He remembered when I used to nestle in his arms, asking him whether he wanted a boy or a girl when we had children. He had touched my nose and said we'd have a pair of twins. And I had laughed, playfully punching his chest. A smile appeared on his lips, and he suddenly wanted to go back to see me. So Qin Yanxuan stood up without taking a bite of his food. "Qianqin, I'll go back and spend our anniversary with Ziyi. You can stay at your parents' house tonight. And I'll send someone to bring you back to the Qin family tomorrow." A trace of reluctance flashed on Zhang Qianqin's face. But Qin Yanxuan had already gotten into the car, completely ignoring her. When he realized it was getting late, Qin Yanxuan took out his phone, wanting to ask me if we were celebrating at home or at a restaurant. But to his surprise, my phone wasn't going through. He frowned, a sense of unease flashing across his mind. He dialed again, but all he heard was the cold mechanical voice, telling him the call still couldn't connect. Qin Yanxuan panicked and ordered the driver to head home quickly. When they arrived, he found the house exactly as it had been when we left for the Qin family. I hadn't come back at all. Then, he remembered the day I fell from the wheelchair and guessed that I might still be at the hospital. He blamed himself for not caring enough about me, never even asking if I had been discharged. So, he started calling the hospital to check, while getting into the car to personally pick me up. But the hospital told him that I had been discharged the day before. The panic in Qin Yanxuan's heart grew, and he touched his chest as if something was missing. He felt like he had lost something important. He immediately sent people to the airline to investigate, only to find out that my identity had been deactivated, and there was no flight record of me boarding any plane. Qin Yanxuan completely panicked, shouting for all the bodyguards to mobilize and find my whereabouts. "Ziyi's leg is hurt. I need you to find her fast. If she's hurt, I won't forgive you." Qin Yanxuan was filled with regret at this moment. He thought, if only he hadn't accused me without reason that day and blamed me for being cruel. He grew up with me, and he knew my temperament best. When I was angry, I'd just yell. But I'd never be cruel enough to push someone down the stairs. Qin Yanxuan's brows furrowed deeply, his heart heavy, as he mentally promised to apologize properly and make it up to me once he found me. But his plans fell apart. He received a call from the bodyguard, and his body froze as his face instantly turned pale. "What did you say, Mr. Qin?" "We found out that Miss Shen took a private plane yesterday. But after the plane passed over a certain sea area, It lost signal and went missing, the bodyguard said, his voice shaking. The plane. And Miss Chin, they're both missing. The plane had landed on a small island on the other side of the world. And as soon as the door opened, my best friend rushed over to me. See, I missed you so much. I hugged her tightly, my joy genuine. I missed you too. Seeing me in a wheelchair, my best friend was both angry and heartbroken. That damn Chin Yanxuan, don't stop me. I'm going back to break his dog legs for you. I laughed and pinched her cheek. He's the heir to the Chin group, always surrounded by bodyguards. You won't even get within 10 meters of him before they throw you out. My best friend gritted her teeth in frustration. I calmly said, as long as he can't find us, that's fine. I don't want anything to do with him anymore. My best friend patted her chest confidently. This island's surrounding seas have no signal, and only my private plane can get in. He'll never find us here. My best friend had always loved to travel the world. And she had visited nearly every corner of the earth. She had just discovered this small island and decided to stay here for a while, seeing if she could help the islanders improve their trade routes and get rich. By the way, there's a great doctor here who can help you fix your broken tendons. You'll be able to walk again. This was undoubtedly the best news for me. I settled in here, working with the doctor for treatment, and also teaching the local kids. My heart, once heavy, began to lighten. The doctor eventually healed my broken tendons, and I was able to stand up again. My best friend joyfully ordered a feast from my private plane, and invited all the islanders to celebrate with me. We lit a bonfire by the sea, singing and dancing, and laughter filled the air. At this moment, I truly felt the power and beauty of life. It wasn't like before, when I would constantly worry and watch Qin Yanxuan. Every time he left the house, I'd wonder if he was going to see Zhang Qianxin. But now, I can feel it. I've truly let go of the relationship that trapped me for 8 years. On the other side of the world, Qin Yanxuan was searching for me like he was losing his mind. I'm sorry, Mr. Qin, but we still have no news of Miss Chen. Crash. Qin Yanxuan swept everything off his desk and yelled, "Get out of here, go find her." His eyes were red, his voice steady as he said, "I'll do whatever it takes to find my Ziyi." He slowly lowered his head, his hands covering his face. His mind was filled with thoughts of me. After I left, he finally realized how important I was to him. He had been so used to my presence. From 5 years old to 28. My image had taken up 1/3 of his life. I had long since become an irreplaceable part of his world. But sadly, he realized it too late. Every night, when Qin Yanxuan lay in bed alone, there was no familiar warmth beside him. He regretted it, night after night, regretting not cherishing me. After a long while, tears began to fall from his hands that were covering his face. "Ziyi, where are you?" Next to him, Zhang Qianxin watched the scene with jealousy and frustration. Even though I was gone, why was Qin Yanxuan growing more distant from her? He ignored her every time, and every time she thought he might not like her anymore. Panic gripped her heart. Her husband was in a vegetative state, and everything in the Qin family belonged to Qin Yanxuan. If he no longer liked her, she would have nothing left. Zhang Qianxin looked at the coffee in her hands and smiled faintly. "Yanxuan Ji, drink a cup of coffee. We'll find Ziyi Jia, I'm sure of it." Qin Yanxuan looked at her impatiently. "It's all your fault, isn't it? If you hadn't made Ziyi angry, she wouldn't have left." Zhang Qianxin bit her lip, her face filled with embarrassment. "You think I don't know your little tricks? If I didn't like..." At this point, Qin Yanxuan abruptly stopped. He couldn't help but slam his fist on the table. Yeah, he thought, I knew Zhang Qianxin had set me up, but I still sided with her and hurt Ziyi. Qin Yanxuan was overwhelmed with regret. And without thinking, he grabbed the coffee on the table and took a sip. Immediately, he felt something was wrong. Zhang Qianxin, weak and frail, leaned into his arms and kissed his chin. "Yanxuan Ji, don't you love me? Give me a child." The veins on Qin Yanxuan's forehead bulged, and he grabbed her neck, furious. "You bitch, did you drug me?" Zhang Qianxin's face turned red as he choked her, and she gasped out, "Shen Ziyi is gone. She'll never come back to you. Give up." Qin Yanxuan's face instantly darkened, and he raised his hand, slapping her hard. "You're lying. It's impossible. You're the one who drove Ziyi away. As long as I kick you out of the Qin family, she will definitely come back to me." Zhang Qianxin was knocked to the floor, her face swollen and bleeding from the slap, her body a mess. She glared at Qin Yanxuan and suddenly laughed maniacally. "Ha ha ha, Shen Ziyi wasn't driven away by me. You're the one who drove her away." Zhang Qianqin sneered at him, speaking each word slowly. She saw everything when we were together in Mo Yang's room. Qin Yanchuan's head exploded with a loud thud. And he went blank for a moment. He trembled, unable to refute her. Because he remembered the look in my eyes that day. The coldness that flashed when I saw him. He knew that Zhang Qianqin wasn't lying. I had seen everything, and he couldn't imagine how much pain I must have felt. Qin Yanchuan clutched his chest, and suddenly coughed up blood. See, I'm sorry. My heart remained unshaken, my expression cold. My best friend had just returned to the island. She had been traveling again, and as soon as she jumped off the helicopter, she rushed toward me. See, I've got big news. That jerk Qin Yanchuan finally got his comeuppance. I coldly asked, what comeuppance? Is he dying? My best friend nodded. Kind of. I heard he's really sick. The gossip media says he has lovesickness. Can't stop thinking about you. I scoffed. Don't bring me into this. I'm not his emotional tool. My best friend laughed and added. Zhang Qianqin even tried to use Qin Yanchuan's illness to team up with her mother-in-law and take the Qin family's CEO position. But it didn't work out, and it led to Qin Yanchuan discovering that Zhang Qianqin had hired someone to crash Qin Mo Yang's car, turning him into a vegetable. When I heard this, I understood Zhang Qianqin's motive. She probably wanted to marry into the Qin family, inherit her husband's fortune, and still cling to Qin Yanchuan. She'd kill two birds with one stone. After Zhang Qianqin's mother-in-law found out the truth, she immediately tore into her. Just as Qin Mo Yang was waking up, he got so angry about this news that he died again. My best friend said that Zhang Qianqin had been sued by the Qin family, charged with attempted murder, and was sentenced to life in prison. I smiled faintly, feeling no sympathy for her. Her fate was her own doing. When I saw them suffer, my best friend was thrilled, often going out to gather gossip about the Qin family. The more miserable Qin Yanchuan's life became, the more pleased my best friend was. She couldn't wait to share his misery with me. Haha, the affair with Zhang Qianqin was exposed. The romantic image he built instantly collapsed. And Qin's business took a hit. I heard Qin Yanchuan is still bleeding while trying to save the company. How tragic. Ha ha ha. I laughed along, having no feelings left for Qin Yanchuan. But I still hadn't forgotten the pain he caused me when he severed my tendons. His downfall was almost poetic justice. I felt a deep sense of satisfaction. But my best friend's constant trips to see Qin Yanchuan's misery didn't go unnoticed. He had tracked down this small island. He got off the helicopter and stared at me without blinking. See, it really is you. I thought I'd never see you again in this lifetime. Thank goodness I found you. Months had passed, and Qin Yanchuan had lost a lot of weight. His eyes were bloodshot, his face weary and sickly. It seemed like he had truly suffered. That brought me some comfort. I gave a cold smile and said sarcastically, your arrival is an unfortunate event for me. Qin Yanchuan shuddered, his pale face growing even paler. See, so you still hate me, but I've sent that bitch Zhang Qianqin to jail. She can't come back to ruin our relationship anymore. He slowly walked up to me, his controlled gaze scanning every change in me. When he saw me standing on my own two legs, his eyes flickered with a mix of relief and sorrow. Realizing that I was doing so well without him, he slowly reached his hand out, wanting to touch my face like before. But I dodged it. So, you think that by doing this, I'll forgive you? Don't even think about it. Qin Yanchuan's eyes were bloodshot, his tone full of pleading and regret. I didn't know who you really were. I know I'm wrong now, and I'll love only you from now on. See, please forgive me this time. I looked at him mockingly. Is that the only thing you did wrong? What about my legs? Qin Yanchuan trembled, almost stumbling as he tried to steady himself. My cold eyes bore into him, exposing the truth he'd hidden all this time. Qin Yanchuan, you personally drugged me, watched the doctor cut my tendons, and you think I'll forgive you? Qin Yanchuan's face changed. He coughed a few times and spat out blood. My heart remained indifferent, my expression cold. His face was full of guilt and pain. I'm sorry. See, I regret it. If you give me another chance, I'll do anything to make amends. Just let me make you happy. I laughed coldly. It's impossible for me to forgive you. But if you want to make me happy, break your own legs. Qin Yanchuan looked at me incredulously, his eyes filled with disappointment and despair. In my eyes, there was no love left for him. And he realized, he had truly lost me. Not brave enough? Then get lost. Don't ever come near me again. Just seeing you irritates me. I turned and walked away. See, please, just look at me one more time. I didn't look back. Just coldly throwing one last word over my shoulder. Get lost. See, it's my fault. I'm willing to make amends. Everything is my fault. Behind me, chaos suddenly broke out. Mr. Chin, don't be impulsive. Ah, a muffled cry of pain echoed, followed by the sound of the bodyguards shouting in panic. Mr. Chin, you can't hit your own legs with a rock. Hurry, get Mr. Chin on the helicopter for treatment. But Qin Yanxuan refused to leave, gritting his teeth and enduring the pain in his legs, stubbornly watching my retreating figure. I paused, turning around to see Qin Yanxuan in this state. He was sitting on the ground, his legs crushed by the rock, bleeding profusely. When he saw me look back, his eyes lit up. He reached out to me, his eyes full of pleading and hope. But I was determined to disappoint him. I shook my head and said softly, "We're done. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other. Go away." After saying that, I turned and left, never looking back again. The light in Qin Yanxuan's eyes immediately went out, and his outstretched hand fell to the ground. He watched my figure fade into the distance, then suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and passed out. A month later, my best friend told me that Qin Yanxuan had died. I nodded lightly, as if I felt nothing. When I saw him that day, I already guessed he was seriously ill. So, I wasn't too shocked by the news. But when the lawyer arrived with the message, I was a bit surprised. Before he died, Qin Yanxuan had sold the Qin family business. And then, he left all his inheritance to me. I looked at the inheritance document in my hand and sighed lightly. Using it to develop this small island, the island grew into a tourist spot, helping my best friend achieve her goal of helping the islanders prosper. Qin Yanxuan had even left me a letter, but I didn't read it. Standing by the sea, I placed his letter in a bottle and threw it into the vast ocean. Our fate had ended. The love and hate from the past drifted away with the water. My best friend patted me on the shoulder, and we exchanged a smile. I boarded the helicopter, and we planned to continue our world tour.